What's up guys, Proxys here, ready with a new video, and this time we are gonna speak about a new game called Astellia Online, recently released in the West. Hope you guys enjoy the video. So Astellia is a typical theme park MMORPG that you will see around these days. So to be really fair, Astellia is one of those games I was very skeptical about before I got a key to it. I didn't buy the game because I didn't really want to try it, but after trying it I'm actually quite positively surprised. The game isn't nearly as bad as people pointed out to be. With that being said, it is not a game that revolutionizes anything or adds something extremely new. So if you are still happy with your current MMORPG, for example, you like World of Warcraft Classic, or you like WoW, you like Final Fantasy, I don't think this is gonna be a game that you're gonna thoroughly enjoy that much more than what you are doing right now, since it does the kind of standard things you would expect from an MMORPG. So with that being said, let's jump into what actually makes this game a little bit different. The main key selling point of these games is focused around Astels. It's the reason why the game is called Astellia. So Astels are basically like little creatures that you can carry with you, kind of like battle pets would be in WoW. The only thing is you're mandatory to fight with them. So it isn't like a Pokemon game. You actually have your own class in this game and you combat yourself, but Astels add certain abilities to your toolkit, as well as deal damage themselves or heal you, tank for you, do all kinds of cool stuff for you. So at first I was very skeptical about this system because it just sounded like a scuffed battle pad system that was forced upon your throat or down your throat to make use of, but it really is a lot more than that. Let me go into detail why. So first of all, these Astels have so-called deck effects. So you can slot up to 8 different Astels on your Astel bar, and they will give passive bonuses to you. These will impact your gameplay. For example, it will make your mana regen faster. It will make Astels cheaper to summon, it will make your cooldowns come off cooldown quicker, and various other things. Next to this, Astels have active abilities that you can use. So you basically always have 8 different Astels on your bar anyway, so you're gonna have 8 different abilities to use at all times. Some of these abilities are quite simple, for example just an AoE nuke on someone, some root someone, some stun someone. They aren't that important. But what makes the Astels even more important than they already are the passive active abilities. And what I mean with that is, these are abilities that trigger upon your skill usage. So for example, I'm a mage and I've got a fireball spell that explodes around enemy targets. It's called Hellfire. So when I use Hellfire, one of my Astels, namely Sirius, will do an extra nuke behind that target, which will make for a sick AoE combo. There are all these kind of things. Pisces is an Astel that primarily just shoots water bolts at your target. Once I root someone, or generally when I slow someone, not even root, Pisces will turn that root or that slow into a root, which will make her extremely good at kiting people down. You get it, Astels add some form of gameplay. They're not just floaty battle pets that auto-attack your target. You actually have to really use them. Astels are pretty powerful in this game, so that is the main selling point of this game. For the rest, it is just your standard MMO theme park. You have to level up to level 50, the questing experience is quite linear, I will go over that in more detail later. But generally speaking, there isn't a lot of special about the game, apart from the Astels obviously. So let's just jump into general gameplay now. So the game will start off in a small tutorial zone where you basically just do a couple of things, kill some mobs, then you go on and you get to the first questing zone. Here's where you will unlock your Astels. Basically, you will have unlocked your first Astel in the tutorial. Her name's Rota, and she's a tank Astel. She doesn't really have anything interesting in her kit, but she's basically just a basic Astel that will help you on your journey. But soon you will unlock a lot of other Astels. It goes pretty quickly, so you already get forced to choose which ones to keep up and that kind of stuff. So you're already starting to play with the Astels, as well as evolving your own toolkit, which is quite tremendously hard sometimes, I gotta be honest with you, because the gameplay in this game isn't easy. This isn't a game for the faint-hearted, let's keep it on that. If you pull 2 or 3 mobs, you're just gonna die. Unless you're a warrior, because there are tanks in this game, but generally my mage experience is if I pull 2 or 3 mobs, I'm just gonna die if I don't play this out perfectly. What I mean with perfectly is you are no longer just mashing DPS buttons all the time. You actually have to use your Astels, and you actually have to use your CC that you have in your toolkit, otherwise you're not gonna make it through the leveling process, which is very refreshing to me. It reminded me a lot of classic WoW in that regards. It is less hard than Classic WoW, I would say, but it is like a lot harder than a lot of MMORPGs out there at the moment, where you could just circle jerk every mob down until it's just no challenge left in the game whatsoever. So yeah, I will give you that hint if you are interested in this game. This isn't an easy game per se. Leveling is actually quite hard compared to a lot of other games, so keep that in mind. So with the general questing experience being covered, let's jump into endgame content, since this is the content that you guys are gonna care about mostly. So it is still a Korean MMORPG, you have to keep that in mind, and that means that this game is gonna be grindy, and this is actually no exception. It feels a little bit like World of Warcraft, but with a lot of grind. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, unless you really hate grinding, but generally speaking, it's gonna be mostly dungeon grinding and doing PvE. There's also PvP content in the game. Sadly, in the pre-early access things weren't always released for PvP. For example, the biggest PvP map, Avalon, wasn't released, which is basically the siege warfare map like Cyrodiil or World vs. World in Guild Wars 2 would be, but it hasn't been released yet. With that being said, it will be released when the game launches, so keep in mind I played this basically in the head start period, and some things weren't unlocked yet to make it fair for the people that didn't have head start, like legendary dungeons and stuff like that, so we couldn't gear up insanely high before other people came into the game. What I will say I've been 50 for like 3 days now, which is the max level. Once you're 50, the first thing you will basically do is continue with your story quest, and it will tell you to go do some dungeons. Fair enough, you go do the dungeons, then once you're done with those dungeons, it will basically tell you, hey, go and kill 900 mobs. So that is something you have to be able to deal with. 900 mobs in a group took me around 3 hours to complete the whole quest line, but it did give me good rewards, because it will give you a legendary weapon and a legendary chest piece. So legendary is the highest rated weaponry here. You should see it like a good epic in World of Warcraft or in any other games. But once you have that gear, you still have to enhance it. So yes guys, the gear enhancement system is back in this game. I will go over that later into the video, because I primarily want to focus on the endgame content. So you've been probably noticing the background footage you've been playing have been dungeons. So there have been level 50 dungeons, and there's two variants of the level 50 dungeons. You have the solo dungeons and you have the group dungeons. So solo dungeons, you drop the same gear as a group dungeon would, but there's one big important thing why I think group dungeons are going to be better. A, they're way more efficient than solo dungeons, and B, you can generally trade gear around using BWAC seals. I will go over that later as well. They're basically seals that allow you to trade armor to each other that dropped in instances, so it's no longer bound on account. So you cannot buy these tokens in the cash shop. I just want to put that out really clear. I will go over a pay to win section later in this game, but just gonna give you a heads up, this game ain't pay to win at all. There's just no pay to win in this game so far. In the cash shop, nothing. They've promised not to make it pay to win. They've removed a lot of features from the Korean version that made the game pay to win, so just heads up for that, it's not gonna be pay to win. Let's go on. Yeah, BWAC seals. So they basically allow you to trade gear to your teammates, to sell the gear you found on an auction house, whatever. So it isn't that bad. The main problem in this game comes from the enhancing the gear. So you basically want to enhance your gear up with enhancement stone, and there's a chance to succeed and there's a chance to fail. When it fails, it has a chance to just stay the same, or there's a chance to degrade one level. Unlike other Korean MMORPGs, this game doesn't have a repair cost attached to disenchanting gear or something like that. So if your gear degrades, it's not going to be that much worse than it would be before. Which is kind of nice and refreshing, because enhancing a gear in this game just takes a lot of time and effort and money. Not IRL money, but in-game money. But generally speaking, it's not that bad. BDO enhancement systems are way worse. I'm just going to be really honest with you. So if you come from BDO, trust me, it's going to be a walk to the park here in comparison to BDO. It's not that hard at all. But yeah, let's get into it further. So the customization of gear isn't that big. That's one of my biggest critiques on the game as well. There isn't a lot of visual progression in this game. A lot of the costumes come from the cash shop, and you can get some through in games as well as through buying them with gold in game. I don't know if they're gonna allow that with launch, because I think they want to remove that feature, but I know that in closed beta that was a thing. I don't know if it still is. I haven't checked it on live. I don't think it is actually anymore, but it used to be a thing. But there is tons of ways to get like costumes and that kind of stuff just by playing in-game. That's what I want to point out. Astels also have skins that you can unlock, and you can unlock them by playing the game. That's actually the only real way to get Astel progression anyway, because you cannot buy any Astel from the cash shop. You can buy Astel skins from the cash shop, but they will not have any impact on the game whatsoever. They just will make your Astel look nicer, I guess. But you can also earn them through in-game methods, so it's not like it's impossible to get skins. It's actually quite lenient and possible to get skins through just playing in-game. It's not that hard to get it. So yeah. They are also planning to make raids for the game, but they're not out yet. I know that in Korea they're in beta right now, so they're getting tested, but they will not be out on release. There are, however, field raids, and the field raids are just world bosses. There's just a few world bosses that you can kill that will drop gear, and that's about it. That's what they do. Mechanic-wise PvE, the mechanics aren't super hard, but the legendary dungeons haven't been released yet, and what I've heard from experienced players, those are pretty hard. So I guess they're kind of comparable to Mythic Plus would be in WoW. There's a timer on them, and the sooner you finish them, the better rewards you get. And that's basically it. They will drop better gear for a harder difficulty. It's not that surprising, right? So yeah. Let's jump into PvP. So PvP, I don't really have any footage of, and the reason for that is that PvP mostly has been blocked throughout the pre-launch thingy, so I couldn't enter Avalon. I could do some arena, but I sadly got corrupted recording data, so I'm not going to show you any PvP, but PvP mainly comes in the form of just doing duels against each other in the dueling arena, and the guy that climbs up the ladder the most, so the guy that wins the most duel, gets the most Zender at the end of the week. So Zender is basically like a cash shop currency, but it isn't a cash shop currency. It's currency that you unlock through playing the game that you can spend on cash shop things. So, for example, Astel skins, premium subscription things. Premium subscription is a thing. We'll go over that later in the pay to win section. But things like that. So unlocking that is mostly, and one of the biggest parts, tied to PvP. So if you don't like that kind of stuff, then it might be quite annoying, but generally it's quite fair, I would say. At least there's an efficient way to get Zender through playing the game, obviously. Now there's also this thing called Avalon, which is basically the siege zone. Like I said before, it's siege warfare. There isn't a lot. You have to capture zones and defend zones against other factions. There's 3 factions in there, and your guild that you're in will be randomly plummeted into one of the factions, so you can't make alliances, pre-hands and stuff. And then you basically, the team that wins the most points at the end of the week will get the biggest reward. It's basically that. There isn't something super special about it. It's just PvP in an open world zone. Ta-da! You also have a Colosseum. Colosseum isn't PvP, it's PvE, but I forgot to mention that in PvE, so I'm gonna go over it right now. It's basically your ritual of Altar of Blood out of BDO or Savage Rifts. You have to defend against wave of monsters, and you get a reward for it at the end of the last wave. And yeah, that's about it for the content right now. Doesn't sound like a lot, but you have to imagine that basically what you also have like lots of weeklies and dailies that you can do. So all in all, you actually have a lot of things to do at the game right now, which is kind of amazing to me, since coming from Final Fantasy XIV and coming from World of Warcraft BFA at the launch period, there wasn't really much content to go through at endgame, where in Astellia there actually is a quite decent amount to go through. So good luck with that. It's kind of nice actually. Alright, next we're going to talk about the pay to win stuff. So welcome back to the video, guys. Let's go over the cash shop. So like I said before, game is not pay to win, and there's basically 2 cash shops in this game. One is for real life money and one is for Zender. And Zender is basically your loyalty coins. You will get them through playing the game. You can get a hefty amount of them by finishing high on the PvP ladder each week. I believe up to 300, and that basically translates into a month of doing good rated PvP to get a good Astel skin. So it isn't that bad. Let's start with the gems. So gems basically are the cash shop currency, and you buy B in a cash on the website, which then you can transform into gems in game. So that's how that works basically. So let's go over. So there's gem packages here, like I said, you can kind of see the prices. It basically comes down to 100 gems is 10 euros, basically like that, to put it in some kind of form. Let's go over the subscriptions. So there's 3 forms of subscriptions. There's Northern's Favor. It will give you 20% player XP, 20% Excel XP, and 30% decrease of dungeon ticket recharge time. So it will basically allow you to do more dungeons a day for extra rewards. You have this system called dungeon tickets. You have 24, and entering a dungeon costs 4 tickets. So that roughly translates into 5 times dungeons a day. But they will also recharge, so slightly more, around 7, 8ish. And if you have Northern's Favor active, you will have 4 extra, so you can do 6 after each other, if that makes sense. So you can do 6 dungeons then. And then you have the different duration ones, so they will become a little bit more cheap once you buy more of it. Next to that, you also get the 15% Zender bonus. So you will get 15% more Zender from doing the loyalty stuff. So basically that. This isn't pay to win, and I will go over why. You will regenerate these tickets anyway, and the chance of you just spamming 6 in a row isn't that big. It will take you around 2 to 3 hours to do this, so on an average day that shouldn't be that big of an issue. That 4 dungeon tickets probably is the most pay to win thing about this, because that will allow you to do 1 more dungeon on like a night compared to someone that doesn't have it. But to be really honest, this game is mostly RNG gearing anyway. It's not gonna impact it that much, if I'm really honest. Next to that, a lot of the good legendaries actually drop from other contents than dungeons. So yeah, it isn't that big of a deal, if I'm really honest. 20% XP for the Astels and players isn't that big of a deal, because there's a level cap at 50, and it will take you around 25 to 30 hours to reach that. So it will be slightly quicker if you have a subscription. I would suggest maybe getting a sub like the first time you level up your main, and then just dropping it after that. Then you have Karza's Gal. Karza's Gal is an unlimited Astel costumes changing. So you can basically change your Astel costume unlimited times a day. You can't do that when you don't have this subscription. Then you can only change it every now and again. I believe every day once or something. I don't think it's worth the price. I don't think this really impacts gameplay as well, because it's just more of a convenience thing, if I'm really honest. So it doesn't matter that much. Then you have Nair's Passing. So Nair's Passing is a little bit different. It gives you unlimited Blessed Resurrection and unlimited base teleport access. So this one saves you quite a bit of money, if I'm really honest with you. Because teleportation costs decent amount. The Blessed Resurrection, however, you get those scrolls pretty much in game for just doing content and stuff like that. And it's a little bit of a misleading one, because you can't unlimit res. There's a cooldown on the res of like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So you can't just die and respawn, die and respawn, die and respawn. That's not how it works. So it's a little bit misleading, but yeah, get whatever it is. These are probably the most pay to win things in the game. So if you consider this extremely pay to win, I'm sorry, but then internet connection would be pay to win. A better computer would be pay to win. I think everything would be pay to win in your books then. I don't really see this pay to win, because it's just more of a convenience thing, I guess. Yeah, that's about it. Let's go into consumable step. So here you have the resurrection scrolls, and you can just buy them. That's all the consumables you can buy. They're not that big of a deal. You have the function. So function is the free teleports. You can also buy them separately for 7 days. Like you can see, they're extremely cheap. So this is basically 70 cents for a whole week to have unlimited teleportation for free. Character slots. Basically appearance change, extra storage room, and that's about it. Costume special. So these are costumes that you can buy. Costumes don't give you any stats, but they just give you a visualized thing, so you start looking nicer. At the moment they're only selling costumes that are acquirable in game as well. So yeah, if you want them and you don't want to grind them out, there you go. You can buy them off the cap shop for 18 bucks. You can also buy the weapon skins separately if you want to. Same for the armor skins. Astel skins. You can buy Astel skins. from the cash shop, and basically they will just make your Astels look nicer, and they will give them a small experience bonus. It doesn't really matter since Astels level up very quickly. I got Archer yesterday and I played for an hour after that, and she's level 21, where level 50 is the max. Doesn't really matter. You can't buy Astels out of the store. Something quick to point out. You literally can't buy an Astel out of the store. You have to unlock all Astels. So you can buy skins in the store, but not the Astels themselves. And they don't really do anything except change visual, so, well, who the fuck cares anyway. And you can buy mounts. So these mounts just look nicer, otherwise you just have a basic horse mount. That's basically the difference. You can buy a mount that looks nicer. And that is literally all of the cash shop. There isn't anything more in it. You have limited time ones, so the sub packages for cheaper, that kind of stuff. So you basically get like 3 months of all subs for 84 bucks if you want to. You have for 100 euros, you have like a special launch kit that will include like a sub. It will include rest scrolls, a mount, an outfit, and it will contain some Astel skins. And yeah, that's basically it. It won't do anything much behind that. These are only limited personable, so you can buy them once and they will remain permanently. Yeah, and that's about it. And that was the cash shop. So let's go into the Xander shop now to give you a kind of a thing that you can expect. So recommended is just the opening tab. So let's go into consumables. So here are what I call the beeswax tokens. So beeswax totems allow you to unbind an item and sell it or trade it to someone. 100 Xander for one. Like you saw, those are not acquirable in the cash shop. So you actually have to play to get Xander, and then you can transform that Xander into the beeswax token. So it allows you to get some more value out of it. There's also the rest scrolls in here, so if you want the rest scrolls, you can buy them with Xander as well, with your loyalty coins. And there's dungeon tickets in here. So if you want to do more dungeons a day, you can't buy them from the cash shop like I showed you, so it isn't pay to win. You can't just spam dungeons indefinitely if you pay a lot. No, but you can buy extra dungeon tickets with Xander if you want to. Xander also has Atratonics. So Atratonics basically make your AP regen faster, and AP is the points required to summon Astels and maintain Astels. So you can summon more Astels and you can summon them for longer. They're in the Xander shop, so again, it's not pay to win because you cannot get Xander by paying money. You have to get Xander by playing the game, and that's one of the ways to get Atratonics. Atratonics also drop in game from various stuff. And then you have function. If you want free teleportation, you can get it for 70 Xander. You can get 7 days as well. So the most pay to win thing in the whole game that saves you money is acquirable to getting Xander. Again, just by playing the game. There's also storage expansion here, so you're not exclusively paying money to get extra storage. And there's even subscription for Xander here if you want to, if you don't want to pay anything. So, like I said, it's not that bad. Yeah, that's basically it. Then you have the Astel skins. So Astel skins are quite expensive, like you see, but to be really honest, it's not that bad. It's around 4 or 5 weeks of playing to get one skin in game without paying money for it. Yeah, so if you want a nicer looking Astel, go ahead, and you can also grind for it if you want. And that is the Xander shop, nothing more in it. So like I said, there's absolutely nothing pay to win in this shop whatsoever, and they explicitly said they're not planning to add pay to win stuff. So I'm gonna trust their word on it. I give everyone a fair shot at it, and so far they have upheld their end of the bargain. There is no pay to win in the game. So with that being said, let's go on into the rest of the video. Right guys, so I think I covered most of the things people generally care about in an MMO game, so I'm gonna go over to the final verdict of this game now. This game, to start out with, is nothing super special. It doesn't even claim to be. It says specifically that it wants to be a classic MMORPG. And what they mean with that is that they don't want it to be something that is adding super revolutionizing new stuff into it. The only thing they kind of came up with that's kind of new but really isn't either as well, it's just kind of a new fresh take on things, is the Astel system, which adds like pet control to a new level of depth, I guess, and makes it into a pretty good game system. That is probably the newest thing in this game, and what the game is mostly centered around with your character as well. It doesn't promise you anything super special. It's just a good game. It isn't an easy game. It doesn't take you by the hand too much. It is quite linear though, but it is something that you can recognize but can enjoy, because it is new but it isn't new. You know what I'm saying? It has that familiarity that you have from other games that you played before, but it does add something fresh to it and it feels new. And that is what I think is the appeal of this game. It isn't a game that has sick action combat. It isn't a game that does something super new that makes you relearn the whole experience of an MMO. No, it just goes back to its roots and tries to get the best out of that. And I think that's absolutely a fine way to play a game as well. Not everything always has to be extremely flashy and new, and that's kind of refreshing actually to see, because that is the only thing I have been seeing lately, with the exception of something like Blast that entirely failed by just being so mediocre that it just didn't work out, and with a lot of bugs and stuff in it. But generally speaking, the game isn't in a bad state. It actually has a quite good community for a pre-launch that happened. I've seen people in every zone everywhere. The dungeon timers aren't ridiculously long. You can find guilds, you can find people to PvP with, play against, whatever. It hasn't been bad at all. With that being said, I do want to cover some things that people probably want to know before they want to buy this game. So first of all, if you're enjoying the MMO you're currently playing and you don't really want to plan on playing something else, but you're just kind of looking around to see what's going on in the market right now, Astellia isn't something extremely new, like I said. So I wouldn't switch to it if you really love your MMO you're playing right now. Just keep playing that game, because it's probably not going to be something that you're going to play for a long time. If you're looking for more of an old school feeling game that has a lot of group content and is a little bit grindy, Astellia is probably the game for you. There's a lot of depth in the game. Gearing up isn't as easy as it seems. The combat system actually is pretty good for a tap target. People say it reminds them a lot of Blast Online, but it doesn't play like Blast at all. It's way quicker, way faster, and way more polished than Blast ever was and ever will be. So yeah, keep that in mind when you want to get into this game. If you want to play the game but you're not sure about it, if it's something for you, I suggest subscribing on the website for $10 basically. It will give you 1 month of game time to just try out the game, play it for a bit, and then you can just buy it whenever you want to. That sub cost isn't mandatory, so I'm just gonna be honest with you. As soon as you buy the game, you don't have to pay the sub cost anymore. It's completely useless to buy the sub then. Don't do it. But if you want to just try it out without committing too much, for $10 you can try out the game, and then you just buy the game for $35 after it, and you should be fine. That is probably the easiest way to test out the game. With that being said, I'm going to wish you guys a good Saturday, since this is going to be released on a Saturday, and see you guys in the next video. I'm out, guys.